Hokie hangover. Virginia Tech is starting its ACC play this weekend, traveling to Raleigh to face Dave Doran's Wolfpack. This is our preview episode of the Wolfpack. We'll talk about a few other things as well. We're obviously not live tonight. We do apologize for that, but we needed to get this one done without being on the airwaves live. Mike, welcome. Andrew, welcome. Appreciate you joining us both.
Hello.
How are we doing, guys? It's
a lot of energy tonight.
If I'm a little distracted throughout this podcast, let it be known that it's because I'm watching the Mets 8-2 lead currently against the Chicago Cubs. We have learned over the course of the last few months that no lead is big enough for the New York Mets. So I'm going to hope that they don't completely collapse in these final 3 innings, which would be a great metaphor for their season if they did.
At least you have September baseball to worry about, Andrew.
That is true.
The Sox are down 6-1 in the 8th, so might need to wait another day.
Are they? Yeah, they're not clinched into the playoffs yet, but they're about to be, right?
The magic number is 1. Yeah, the magic number is 1. I mean, they could still lose out as long as the Astros don't sweep whoever the hell they're playing this weekend.
It's again, must be nice.
Should be in.
Orioles are 10 games under 500. Half our team is, I guess we've gotten some guys back now. We're still not playing particularly good baseball. So we'll have to see how next season goes because our goose is absolutely cooked. Shockingly enough, Virginia Tech's goose is technically not cooked. The Hokies, given that they have not started ACC play, can technically still win this damn conference despite looking like they're an absolute shambles. We have 2 Hokies officially in the portal, Mike, Dante Lovett and Tucker Holloway.
We do. I don't think there will be the last 2 in the portal. That's what I would say. There's some speculation about the Holloway one. Dante Lovett, I think, will probably be somewhere else next year. Holloway will likely be, but I think there's more to the Holloway story, rumors-wise, at least. Nothing I want to put out on the airwaves here because I don't know how true they are, but it seems like there are some differing opinions about whether or not Holloway actually wanted to enter the portal. So, yeah, maybe that's a story for the 3 of us off air to discuss. But yeah, anyway,
if you're listening, feel free to go do your own research, come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, so might be some extracurriculars going on there potentially.
I mean, it could be. I mean, if you have the year of eligibility to protect, which does Holloway have that?
I think he was trying to seek potentially a medical, from what I heard.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So,
remember, eligibility is fake anyway, right?
It's totally made up.
All of the letters to everyone's names don't mean anything.
Yeah, it's again that the decline of the importance of eligibility over the course of the last 5 years or whatever, 10 years is like, it's like if you live to the moment where people realize that money is just like green paper and has no inherent value in and of itself other than people's confidence in it. The people's confidence in these eligibility rules being real is at an all-time low, and as such, it's not taken it seriously anymore.
I mean, you got Diego Pavia, whose lawyer is in the middle of that. I mean, representing Pavia, obviously, in the middle of a lawsuit with the NCAA about redshirt rules. And Pavia is obviously playing this year, his 6th year of eligibility under an injunction. And his lawyer was in court literally last week telling the NCAA that if they don't rule on this case before the end of the year, Pavia could seek a 7th year of eligibility and try to play under injunction. Now, Pavia quickly on social media shut it down, said, "Nah, this is it. I'm done playing college football. This is the final year." But the lawyers never say never. Number one, number two, because we're paying players now, so definitely never say never. Number two, the lawyers obviously playing that for leverage a little bit, which is fine, but the whole eligibility thing is up for interpretation, we'll say, in the current environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's, to the point of never say never. Again, we're paying players. Like, if you're Diego Pavia, you're just going to be done making $1 million a year when, you might not be an NFL quarterback there. It's going to get dicey with all this stuff. Like, basically telling people that they can't make money anymore. It gets into some dicey legal territory.
Mm-hmm.
You're not kidding.
And like that, I think the only way to sustain it, to kind of be what it used to be, is to actually have the government go out and like pass like laws, like antitrust exemption laws, essentially against to whatever the organization that governs college football is going to be called. Very weird.
Yeah, we're probably staring collective bargaining directly in the face. We'll see how that goes. Speaking of players in the portal, there's a lot of players that aren't in the portal just yet, as important asterisks there. But a lot of guys that are not going to be able to play in this game. So the title of tonight's show is Wounded Hokies began ACC play. Guys, there's a ton of Virginia Tech players not dressing out for this weekend. This is the official list from Virginia Tech: Quentin Reddish, Joshua Clark, Keelan Adams, Chance Wiggins, Sherrod Koval, Jeff Overton, Caleb Brown, Caleb Woodson, Sherrod Henderson, James Jeanette, Brody Meadows, LJ Booker, Joseph Hobbs, Harrison St. Germain, and Andrew Hanchuk.
Hey guys, can we play a game?
Sure, Michael.
Okay. We're going to play a game called Portal or Nah. All right. Game's very simple. Listeners can play along too. I'm going to go down the list. You tell me if they will be in the portal before the end of the season. Ready?
All right, go ahead.
Reddish. Portal or Nah?
Part of me is I'm trying to see how many games they've played.
Yep.
To see if, how much room everyone has. I mean, sure, I'll go portal for Reddish.
Portal is my ruling. Andrew.
He's played in all four. I'll say portal.
He's got the redshirt year available too.
He's got the redshirt year available.
Yeah, I think out of everybody on this list, he might be the most likely, just because of circumstance. Joshua Clark, portal, absolutely portal.
Hasn't been able to get on the field, hasn't been healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that based on just personal knowledge of the situation, his family loves Virginia Tech, based on what I've heard. But at a certain point, you have to wonder if there's a reason why he's not yet gotten on the field. So, yeah, I'm in agreement on that.
Yeah, I'll be in agreement there too. Agreements. What do we call it? Are we making up words here?
Maybe.
We're making up words. We're just making.
Okay. Honestly, I mean, we'll go through a few of them. Let's do the more interesting ones though. Like Caleb Woodson. Is Caleb Woodson in the portal? I don't think so, but maybe.
It would be somewhat wise of him to go ahead and get in the portal, I think. I don't believe there are a lot of folks. Now, granted, a lot of folks around Merriman may not be around Merriman much longer, but I don't know how much goodwill is left for Caleb Woodson after what he did. This is a guy that was a captain, a guy that has essentially, at least so far, been able to get away unscathed from his mistake. We'll call it that. He's a talented player. I think someone at the G5 would love to take him on and have him start. And I'm not so sure that the incoming coaching staff, whenever they get here, is going to want the hassle. So I'll go portal.
Yeah, I mean, we also have to keep in mind, like for all these guys, right? it's like, unless you feel like if we're talking purely from like either a financial or personal perspective, right? Sticking around and like seeing it through isn't necessarily even a guarantee that you're coming back to Virginia Tech if you want to come back to Virginia Tech, right? Like, we don't know who the new coach is, what the philosophy is going to look like. Now, you know that like maybe there's like more of a pot of gold down the road because of Virginia Tech making like the financial commitments that they say they are. But if you're making a decision like with sticking around at Virginia Tech in mind, you're doing so like purely based on the university itself and not from a college football perspective, because you don't know what you're signing up for if you're thinking like that.
Yeah, those are good points.
It wouldn't be the first guys though to do that.
And he is a really talented player. I feel like this is going to sound really bad because I think we all know how serious DUIs are. But I don't think a school like is going to be worried about taking him on because he got a DUI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do think that an incoming coach may not want
here.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Somebody else will give him a shot elsewhere for sure.
Yeah, here I agree. Elsewhere, I think they're more willing to overlook because, hey, he's probably, it's like time served at his old school and he's getting a fresh start and it'll be on their radar, obviously, but I don't think that's something that's going to preclude a school from signing a player versus some other stuff out there. And again, not making light of DUI in any way, shape, or form, but
just a reality.
Just a reality of the situation, yeah. With that said, portal. I think he's in the portal.
I'm glad we took the long way there.
Yeah, we can just do the interesting ones, like Andrew said. Brody Meadows, he's been really bad. He's out like injured, but do you guys think he hits the portal?
Yep.
I do too. Like, he's obviously very injured. He's not like sitting out to like try to decide what he's doing. Like, he's been hurt for weeks.
If he, depending on the severity of his injury, he could probably seek a medical red shirt because he's already used his traditional red shirt. So for him, it would probably be smart for him to go ahead and sit this year out and get healthy. So yeah, I'll go portal.
All right, I got a fun one. Brody Adams. I think he might stick around.
It's another guy who's already used his redshirt year, who's been battling injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is a thing with wide receiver. There's a ton of playing time available, especially starting next year. Now, you obviously have to take into account that whoever the next coach is probably going to bring in multiple transfers at wide receiver and multiple transfers at just about every position. I'd be willing to bet. For someone that could potentially use a fresh start, I'll go portal for Brody Adams.
I mean, at the end of the day, the other thing we have to consider here, right, is that because the reality is like we don't know any of these guys' like personal situations at all whatsoever. We also don't know down to a T what their financial situations are with Virginia Tech currently, right? Because like if you stop playing, like you're not getting paid, 2 months worth of your current NIL checks from Virginia Tech, right? Which for some of these guys, I'm sure they have decent deals. And if you are in a decent situation now, and maybe you haven't put out the best tape over the course of weeks 1 through 4, like is sitting out foregoing X amount of thousands of dollars worth of money that you otherwise know you're getting if you just stay on the team and play, to then go into a transfer portal where your stock might not be as high as it was before. Or, you might not be as worth as much right now on the open market as you are at Virginia Tech right now. And, so you can cash your checks and take the time to hopefully put out some good film. And even if you don't want to be at Virginia Tech next year, you're benefiting yourself in that way. And I think that when you look at some of these guys, like a Brody Adams, there might be some opportunity for him to up his profile a little bit here. And whether Virginia Tech ends up his long-term, landing place or not, he can benefit from it, right? Because, I mean, it's a weird thing, right? A lot of these guys haven't been at Virginia Tech very long. The ones who have been here just lost the guy that, probably recruited all of them, obviously. But, if you were 2-3 years in the prior regime, do you want to stick around? Probably not, right? So it's just really hard to break down. But I would here. Do you think more than half of the guys that we've mentioned so far will be in the portal for sure? Because it's hard to guess by name, right? But is this overwhelmingly just a not real injury report? And these are the guys that are leaving? Do we think that's where we're at right now, or not necessarily?
I do only because a lot of these guys are new additions to the injury report, and Tech is coming off of a blowout win against Wofford. All these guys get hurt in practice? Probably not, No, I think this is not a real injury report. I think all these guys are at least contemplating the idea of maybe sitting out. Whether that means they're hitting the portal or not, I don't know. The thing too is when you start paying the players more than the coaches, and it's very even to add to that, in an interim head coach situation, you lose all leverage from a coaching staff standpoint. If these players are I'm going to sit out, but I don't know if I'm transferring, what do you say? Now, I know some of the NIL deals, and there's revenue sharing and all that stuff now. So it kind of depends on how things are written up. Maybe your financials are impacted a little bit by sitting out. But if these guys have made some money already and they're trying to protect their eligibility, and maybe that doesn't even mean leaving Virginia Tech, right? Maybe it's just I want to protect my eligibility because this is kind of a lost season. Let's see who Tech brings in. Because for a lot of these guys who are young too, the thing to think about is grass isn't always greener, right? You hit the portal and maybe you want to go elsewhere and think you're getting a fresh start. The fresh start could be where you're already at because they're going to be hiring a new coach. Everybody's going to be getting a fresh start in a way, no matter what happens, because Virginia Tech's hiring someone new. So I think for guys who want to protect their eligibility, protect their red shirt, sit out, take the red shirt now, and then essentially have 3 or 4 years of eligibility left when the new staff comes in. Roll the dice, see where you're at. And then if you don't think that you're going to mesh with the new hire, you can hit the portal, then it'll probably be okay, So, yeah, I think there's conversations to be had, but I think a lot of these guys are at least contemplating, at the very least, sitting out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're probably not going to get much clarity on the matter until next week. Because a lot of these guys are at their 4-game limit already if they wanted to redshirt. There's a mixed bag of guys that have been dealing with injuries, guys that have just popped up. So we'll have to wait and see. The one name that I don't recall being injured up until now is James Jeanette. If I remember correctly, he's been playing consistently as a reserve. So that's another one I guess we'll have to keep an eye on. But bottom line is Virginia Tech has got a ton of guys missing in this game. Lath Gannum, Jaden Muskrat, Johnny Garrett, all listed as questionable. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, if they're going to play. But that would be a huge boon for the Hokies, considering the offensive line got a bit of a bye week last time out against the Terriers. It's going to be a little different this week against the Wolfpack.
Yeah, NC State's got got a team that I don't think is Dave Doran's most talented. Now they do obviously have some playmakers. Hollywood Smothers, one of the best running backs in the ACC. I think their offensive line is pretty good. And CJ Bailey is a bit of a gunslinger.
Likes to give it away.
Likes to give the ball away. And they have a defense that isn't particularly outstanding. So the thing is, like how much stock are we putting into Virginia Tech's offense after like figuring it out last week? Like we talked about this on the recap. It's hard to really take anything away from a game against Wofford. Now, it would be great if Virginia Tech played like half as well as they played against Wofford, because that probably means you've taken a step forward from what we had been seeing. But is that enough to beat NC State? Probably not. And it's impossible to judge the defense, even more so off of last week's performance. So going to Raleigh is tough place to play too.
Yeah, we were pretty vocal, Mike, on the recap that even going into the game, there was essentially nothing that Virginia Tech could do against Wofford that was going to make us feel in any way more comfortable about the prognosis of this football team. I mean, Tech could have won that game by 80, and I don't think it would have really impacted the way I thought about this team moving forward. And then for the ODU game, I kind of felt the same way that, Tech could beat ODU by 30, and it really wasn't going to change much for me. And obviously they went out and got blown out in that game. But yeah, this is a huge test for both sides of the football. I don't really care how iffy NC State's defense has been. I know they got carved up last week. They gave up, I think, 31 to UVA earlier, just a couple weeks ago. They've got enough talent on that side of the ball, in my opinion, where Virginia Tech is going to have plenty of issues on offense, especially since this is going to be Philip Montgomery's first game calling plays for Kyron against a real defense. And I'm sure that they got some of their kinks worked out last week, and that's nice, but things are a little bit different when you're going up against a Power 5 team or Power 4 team, especially one that's coached by Dorn, which I know a lot of people are kind of, iffy on Dave, but you look at the man's track record and his teams are usually well coached, and they usually exceed a lot of expectations, and they play very well against good teams.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you look at NC State, they got a dynamic running game. They've, do I think they're a world beater? No. Like, would I pick this NC State team to beat last year's Virginia Tech team? I think that would actually be a really good matchup. But, you saw the injury report. That's like half the guys on the roster that you could name that get consistent playing time. We don't know what those backups look like. It's going to be a challenge out there for Virginia Tech. And honestly, if you're watching, you're watching for the reason of maybe getting an idea of what it's really going to look like going forward, right? Because at a minimum, right? Like if you're playing today or if you're playing this next game, if you're not on the injury list, there's a good chance you are planning on sticking out the rest of the season, right? Like this is Virginia Tech's team. They may get some guys back. Obviously, they'll probably lose some guys to injury. But, is this a team that can go out there and compete with an NC State? Like, the spread's at 10.5 right now. I could envision it being a lot worse, but you could also envision them hanging in there, right? With the level of motivation having changed, the situation around the season has changed, and the roster has changed. It's, you're replacing you're opening yourself up to the idea, right, that consistent pieces from the roster from last season to this season, the guys who in the season preview we could speak on with a little confidence are overwhelmingly guys that actually may not be a part of this thing for the rest of the year, right? So we're going to be previewing new names or names that weren't getting much of the spotlight, and it's like, are they competitive? Or does it create giant holes on either side of the ball that are impossible for Virginia Tech to overcome? This NC State game is going to tell you a lot about that, and whether to expect a bloodbath for the rest of the year, or, is this a team that could go and compete with like Wake Forest and Cal and, UVA, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's kind of a preview of the rest of the way.
Yeah, as far as being a barometer for this team, NC State's probably a pretty good option. And Mike, I don't know, or Andrew, I don't know if you guys were able to watch the NC State Duke game last week. I was not able to watch it, but it seemed like NC State got beat just about every way they could. they they gave it away with CJ Bailey throwing 3 picks. Darian Mensah had a hell of a day. Duke ran the ball well. Duke did a really good job getting negative plays. I think they had like 7 tackles for loss in that game. It seems like NC State really just kind of took a step back last week and maybe just had a poor performance, and it wasn't all that indicative of what kind of team they can be.
Yeah, that was the worst game they've played all year. Just played really poorly. Yeah, they gave it away 4 times total. You mentioned the 3 CJ Bailey picks. There was a fumble too. I mean, yeah, Duke was +4 in turnovers. That helps a lot.
+4 and only won by 12.
Yeah, it could have been worse, honestly. And Duke had like 100 yards worth of penalties, and it just did not matter. So that tells you kind of what you need to know there. I had picked NC State last week to beat Duke because Duke had really not played well in the previous 2 weeks against Illinois, and then who'd they lose to? Tulane. I think it was Illinois and Tulane back to back. They hadn't really played to their potential at all, and I didn't think they looked particularly fantastic last week either. But they looked a lot better than NC State did. So, yeah, I don't think that this is a game that is impossible for Virginia Tech to compete in, but I just think the explosiveness of NC State's offense is going to be a bit too much. Like Virginia Tech's defense outside of the South Carolina game that they had months to prepare for really has not looked very good. I mean, you had ODU going up and down the field on you, and now I got to rely on, one performance against Wofford for you to like get right so that your mind's in a good place to go on the road against a good offense with one of the best running backs in the ACC, probably a top 7 or 8 running back in the country. Now we got to stop him. I don't see it. And on top of that, I think Bailey is just a guy who could really run it up on you a little bit with his arm.
He's got a similar, at least skill set, it feels like, to both Pavia and Joseph, where even though he's not a dominant runner, he can certainly hurt you there.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the first instinct isn't going to be to run for Bailey, right? But he can do it. So, yeah, it's a matter of, do you believe Virginia Tech could win a shootout, I think, because I'm not going to be overly confident in the defense slowing down and or stopping this NC State offense. I think is really good. I mean, there's a chance that this NC State offense is the best one Virginia Tech's seen so far, which I mean, and Vanderbilt's looked, I mean, maybe second to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's, they've looked really good. South Carolina has not been great. They've kind of come tumbling back to earth a bit.
Yep.
But yeah, there's an argument to be made that this is the best offense that Virginia Tech has seen, or maybe second to Vanderbilt. So we'll see. I think it's a game that if you're Virginia Tech, you got to win in a shootout unless the defense just shows up out of nowhere, which would be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, I did watch the Duke NC State game, at least a lot of it.
You were the only one of the team to pick Duke, Andrew, by the way.
I was. DDD, baby. And I'm not quitting on the Manny Diaz just yet. But, yeah, but I was with my dad. So my dad was watching it. So I watched it with him. Obviously, Virginia Tech was not on television in Wisconsin over the weekend because it was not on television anywhere. And I was not going to be the guy to tell my dad to throw on ESPN Plus and watch a Virginia Tech Wofford game. There was other stuff on TV.
That's very nice of you, Andrew.
Yes, not just my dad, but my entire family. I think that wouldn't have gone over well. Either way, though, when it comes to NC State, from what I saw, I mean, the offense was firing at all cylinders early on in the game. And then, yeah, I mean, they just made enough mistakes to essentially hand the game to Duke. Duke's too good to give the ball 3 times to, right? To turn the ball over 3 times. Virginia Tech actually, we'll see if who am I to say that Virginia Tech is that you can't turn the ball over 3 times and still beat Virginia Tech. I don't know that for a fact, but if Virginia Tech does have a shot in this game, it's going to be because of stuff like that. Turning the ball, like they're going to have to get some opportunities. Unless some magical switch is flipped, which we've seen before. I mean, 2023, that kind of happened, but that this offense is just going to start operating consistently. We just haven't seen it yet this year, other than kind of for a half against Vanderbilt. So I think that I haven't seen from what I've seen of Virginia Tech's defense. I have very little doubt that NC State is going to get to around, at a minimum, 28, 30 points. And from what I've seen from Virginia Tech's offense, I have no reason to believe that they could get to 28 to 30 points. And that's where we're at. So, like, it's kind of a prove me wrong game, but I'm looking at this one like, and spoiler alert, like 10.5. I mean, maybe they can cover that. I'm really not seeing it.
Yeah, that's not my favorite pick in this game. I mean, we'll get to the picks in a minute. But I think you definitely have to look at the over in this game. I mean, these are 2 defenses that are kind of pathetic. And
what's the over under at? So
the total currently is 57.5. And it seems like a lot of points, but I think if you're Virginia Tech, you really just have to score. If you're betting the over, if Virginia Tech scores 20 points, I think that puts you in a pretty good spot, right? If you get 3 touchdowns out of Virginia Tech in a game where NC State is favored by 10.5, I mean, could you guys see like 38-24? I'm just saying for totals, right? I don't want to spoil the picks, but could you guys see like a 38-24 game? Could you guys see like a 31-24 game? That would be under, I guess, by 1.5.
The more I think about it, Mike, the under is kind of tempting there, just because I don't know that I can see Virginia Tech scoring 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I know that NC State's defense got worked last week, but there's just there's no evidence to show that this offense can produce. And I guess my hope for this game is that this is Philip Montgomery's kind of coming out party, and that this is a chance for him to kind of put his stamp on this team and be able to show that he can coach them a little bit better than they were coached previously. I have my doubts about that, but he's got a pretty decent resume. We've talked about that at length at this point, but this is his shot to kind of put himself on the map a little bit. Last week was a bit of a warm-up. It's kind of a scrimmage. But if Philip Montgomery wants to send a message and to show that the team is still taking this season very seriously, this would be a great opportunity for him to go out there and put up 4 touchdowns and keep this game competitive.
Well, here's one thing I would note, though, real quick, right? The pattern that we've seen with Virginia Tech's offense is basically can be broken down as the following, right? Against South Carolina, first game of the season, a lot of new guys out there, very slow offensive performance. First half against Vanderbilt, not flying at all cylinders here, obviously still early on in the season, decent opponent. Turning point, offensive line injuries. You look at the injury report right now, Lath Gannon, Jaden Muskrat, Johnny Garrett, all listed as questionable. If you can get 2 of those 3 guys back, pick your poison on whoever you think would be the better 2 options to have. I don't know. But, maybe that opens things up to the offense being more competent than what we saw in the second half against Vanderbilt and, basically the entire game against ODU. Of course, I know what a lot of you guys are out there thinking. I mean, that's an incredibly low bar because they didn't score for, like basically a full game of football. But I think without those guys, you could expect to maybe see something similar to what we've been seeing so far, just with the way that this offense has been non-functional. Like, I think we have a chance to graduate from non-functional to something a little bit better than that. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah, even against this defense.
But yeah, it's like, even if you can envision a significant amount of progress for the offense, and that's still not being enough to win in a shootout against NC State. Like, it just is what it is.
Well, so NC State is 133rd nationally in pass defense. Okay. So
Not good.
Pretty much dead last. They are giving up 414 yards per game. That's 114th nationally. They're giving up 29.3 points per game. That's 107th nationally. Not good. Okay. So if Virginia Tech cannot move the ball here, we know this offense is big time ass. Like really, really, really bad. Now, I guess, Ricky, to your point, right? If you're looking at an underbet, you're betting that Virginia Tech's passing offense, which against everybody not named Wofford has been really, really bad this year. You're betting that it's going to be bad against a really bad NC State defense, which I can't tell you you're wrong, right? Like, I can't go out there with confidence and tell you that Virginia Tech is going to be able to throw the ball all over NC State. I think they can score here. I do think Virginia Tech can score here. But I can't go into this game with like 100% confidence that they're going to be able to turn in like a very respectable offensive performance. On top of that, couple it with like the defense and the ineffectiveness on that side of the ball against an offense that could be very explosive with a really good running back and a solid quarterback in his second year who's gaining confidence each week. And maybe he had a little bit too much of that last week against Duke, throwing those 3 picks. Yeah, it's not a good recipe. Yeah, that's all I have. I think you guys know which way I'm leaning on this game. I bet the total.
So while we're in
spread,
while we're in flux right now, I think this is because kind of looking to see what to expect from the offense for the rest of the year. Right now, today, I'll just give you 50-50 odds. Does the Virginia Tech football shutout streak of games without being shut out come to an end this season?
I think it's got a shot.
I feel like we talked about this. I think it will continue just because I think there's enough life in this offense that they can at least kick a field goal. But Mike, you mentioned that Wolfpack are just horrendous against the pass. They're 54th against the run. I don't know if that's just because they're so bad against the pass that teams aren't really running against them. But the way I see it, this is a really important time for Tech to try and control the football in this game, to try and keep that NC State offense off the field, and more importantly, keep their defense off the field. If they can do that, it'll go a long way in keeping this game competitive. And Tech's got the horses to do it. We saw PJ Prelude get a lot of touches last week against Wofford. I don't know if he can produce at the same level against the ACC, but we'll have to wait and find out. I just would like to see Virginia Tech continue to working these running backs into the game in just about any way possible. I still think it's the deepest position on the team, even if Terrion Stewart is not healthy, which is kind of to be determined. He's not on this injury report, which is nice. But he did not play last week. This is a unit that I think Virginia Tech can exploit, and if they can find a way to get any sort of push up front, Tech should run the ball as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, they can't really stop the run either, by the way.
And don't be afraid to utilize Kyron in the running game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, we went into the season, we're like, they got to take it easy with Kyron. Don't run him. You don't want him to get hurt. Season will be over. Season's already over, baby. Let's run him.
Yeah.
I don't want him to get hurt. I mean, you got
Tell him to wear a little bit bigger set of pads this week.
Yeah, pick up, they should be going balls to the wall to pick up any opportune win whenever possible. Who cares? Like,
to
your point about Philip Montgomery earlier, Ricky, like, as adjustments are made throughout the course of a season, like, this team isn't like devoid of talent. Like injuries on the offensive line always can just screw up an offense. But if that is not a long-term thing, like the onus is going to be on Philip Montgomery to take what he has in an imperfect situation and figure out what like the best effective offensive strategy is there.
Yep.
Like, you know, I think that could be a challenge. But like Terrion Stewart ran for a bunch of yards at Bowling Green. Like he's obviously not a incompetent running back. Kyron Jones has had levels of success before. You know, these wide receivers aren't all like totally nobodies. Like, you know, Green was good at Wake. Aiden Green has flashed in the past. Like they got to figure out a way to find something. and if you can get healthy on the offensive line, maybe it does get a little bit better. But again, not knowing what the full roster is going to look like, you know, you're losing, at least for this game, right? Like your two probably best players on defense. You could make the argument for at least between Reddish and Woodson. You know, a lot of these podcasts going forward are going to be talking a lot more about next season than this season. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, especially once we get an idea as to what the Board of Visitors thinks about this funding plan. I have a feeling that this coaching search is going to really start to pick up once that comes out. And also, I mean, we can just address this really quick. Bruce Arians' appearance on the Pat McAfee show talking about how they're going to hire a GM over football at Virginia Tech, which I thought was an encouraging sign. And I think we can talk about that a little bit later on. But going back to this NC State game really quick before we do our picks, it's going to rain on Saturday. There's a chance it rains during the day, during night, both potentially. There's a chance for thunderstorms. But it looks like it's almost a guarantee that there's going to be some weather in this game. Weather is usually an equalizer. Do we think Virginia Tech can potentially take advantage? Do you feel any different about the game, thinking that there could be a chance that this one gets kind of ugly on the field?
Feel worse about it. Drones is a fumbling machine.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as we've outlined, NC State's defense not particularly good at stopping the run, and Virginia Tech has options there, but Virginia Tech's defense is going to be without their starting captain linebacker, who was the only player of the Brett Pry era to like show even remote promise at that position in being able to tackle consistently and a hard-hitting safety. So I would bet the over in rushing yards on the ground between the two teams. I'd bet the over for either team individually. But I don't think that the rain like swings the advantage in the favor of Virginia Tech at all. Like it does, my opinion on the game doesn't change rain or shine.
Yeah, Mike, I think that was a good point about Kyron not being able to take care of the ball. This is something that's plagued him for a while, and it's one of the issues with a guy that you really want to try and take advantage of in the run game, but you can't really rely on him to hold on to the damn ball. So we'll have to wait and see. It's forecasting like almost an inch and a half total for the day. So we'll have to see how much of a role that plays. Any last words on NC State before we get into these picks?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to come off as like negative and repetitive here. I think that there could be glimmers of hope in this NC State game that lead next week's podcast against Wake Forest and other podcasts coming up here in the month of October, which is about to be upon us, starting next week. This game has the opportunity to either confirm your predisposition that the towel really should be thrown in, or can open up a world of possibilities where, you know, the rest of the schedule, there will be some challenges and some unwinnable games, but not all games fall in that category. Like, can Virginia Tech be competitive, or is this really a truly lost season? And we're about to find out. Most interesting game of the year so far. Not the most important, but the most interesting.
All right. Friday night game, Florida State going to Whoville. Maybe we'll have 4 people at this game. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Virginia is looking good, so you have to give them that, but Florida State is a 6.5 point favorite on the road. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Lamb. I don't see it. Virginia. I don't see it with Virginia's defense here. This Florida State team is, I think, like capital G good. I think Virginia's got a good team this year, but they have a good team relative to like middle to bottom tier of the ACC. I don't think they're ready for this.
Do you think that Thomas Castellanos is capital G good?
He's gonna cook them. Yeah, I'm not even a huge Castellanos guy. He with Malzahn, this is like a supercharged. This is the perfect offensive system for him. Yeah, I think he cooks in this game. I think Florida State wins this game by 2 touchdowns at least.
Would be a big one, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm going to bet this one IRL and go with Florida State here. I mean, again, I'm not trying to take credit away from Virginia. Like, obviously, no one on this podcast is a fan of Virginia, but I do think they might have a better team than they've had, at least in recent years. And, you know, they could be fighting for bowl eligibility. But Florida State, you know, could go on the field and compete with a lot of legitimate programs out there. And I don't think a Scott Stadium road environment is going to hinder that much.
Yeah, I this may be an exposure game for Virginia. All of their flaws might be put on full display. I'll go ahead and take the Noles. I think the biggest thing here will be Florida State's defense. I'm curious to see how they handle the Virginia offense, which has looked pretty decent so far to start the year. Moving on to Saturday at noon on ESPN, ranked Georgia Tech, 16th in the country. They're going to Wake Forest. A road favorite here for the Jackets, 13.5. I guess I'll take Georgia Tech. I guess I'll lay them.
Yeah, I mean Wake's not very good.
No.
And I snuck through, got home last week on, at least with my real life bet. I know there was some speculation on the line that we used on this podcast. My real life bet that I placed on Saturday morning ended up giving me another half point of value. And we got home on Temple covering like 24.5 or whatever it was. A lot of points. I don't know if I'm going to sneak by 2 weeks in a row. Wake Forest is admittedly a lot better than Temple, I think, but this is I think I'm going to land with Georgia Tech, not with a ton of confidence. I do think they win this game by around 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll go Georgia Tech as well. I mean, you know, one of the few teams that have given me something to believe to this point this year in Wake Forest. You know, I have to, in my head, tell myself for the next 9 days or whatever it is before I travel to Blacksburg to see Virginia Tech play Wake Forest, that Wake Forest is not a good team and that Virginia Tech is going to at least have a very good chance to win that game. So I'm sticking with the predisposition that I want and picking Georgia Tech to blow them out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Wake keeps us close, then you're right. Next week's preview will be a little more shaky. Andrew, let's start with you. Your Duke Blue Devils, 4.5-point road favorites at Syracuse. Orange, obviously coming off that big win over Clemson last week. However, Angeli is hurt. How do you see this line? 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Duke here. Pick the better quarterback. I think pick the better coach. I don't know. Fran Brown, a lot of buzz, a lot of hype. You know, he did not have the more talented roster than Clemson did last week and ended up pulling away victorious. So you got to give him that. In 1 week, he accomplished something that Brett Pry never could. Won a game he wasn't supposed to.
Yep.
But yeah, give me Duke backup quarterback situation. A little bit of a hangover game. Probably hard to stay focused. These guys are riding high while transitioning their offense to a backup. I think Duke's going to roll on the momentum from last week.
I think this should be a bigger spread. Syracuse, the backup quarterback. I think this tells you that Vegas is not very high on what they've seen out of Duke this year, which I think is fair given Duke's done a lot of stuff to shoot themselves in the foot in a lot of their games.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned the no turnovers last week against NC State, but like I mentioned, I think it was 8 or 9 penalties for 100 and something yards. It was not great. So it's been turnovers and penalties. They're still committing those. So I think you're betting here on Duke not playing a clean game, which I think has kind of been their MO this year so far. They have not played a lot of clean games. I'm going to lay him with Duke because like Andrew mentioned, better quarterback. I don't underestimate Fran Brown though. Like, it would not shock me if with a backup quarterback they pulled this off at home. This would be a Fran Brown special. He's starting to gain some momentum here a little bit as like a coach nationally who's like at first it was like shtick, like he's a little quirky and he doesn't shower, sleep with his wife when the team loses or whatever. But now it's turning into like this guy can coach because he's got Syracuse playing good football. So anyway, give me Duke, but not feeling particularly confident about it.
I'm on Duke as well, almost exclusively because I'm hate watching Fran Brown for potentially the rest of his career. I find him extremely annoying. Give me the Blue Devils.
Careful. They'll call it. Never mind. I'll leave that alone. I'm going to leave that alone. Louisville Pitt.
Noon on ESPN2. 4.5-point favorites are the Cards. They're going to Pitt, as Mike mentioned. You know what? I'll take Pittsburgh here. I'm hoping we get some change in the picks here because all three of us are on the same boat here for the first three. So give me Pitt. Speaking of someone I used to hate watch, Pat Narduzzi, I'll take Pitt here.
I am gonna go with Louisville in this one. I mean, again, we still don't really know about Louisville because they haven't had a true test yet in the non-con. But I'll ride their preseason hype there and say that they can walk away with a victory against a Pitt team that, they competed against West Virginia, but I don't think this is a top of the conference type deal. And I still hold out for the idea that Louisville might be.
Why is it that every single spread this week is 4 or 5 points? This is brutal.
I mean, we just talked about 13.5.
No. I know. I just feel like I'm looking at like 3 or 4 spreads that are exactly the same this week. Anyway,
I mean, they are pretty
sorry.
close.
I don't mean to derail this. Give me. So I mentioned on my ACC pod that I mentioned this on the recap of week 3, or I'm sorry, the recap of week 4, that I was going to be very interested in Pittsburgh if this line was anywhere around a touchdown where Louisville was favored. 4.5, man, I do not know. That's very 50-50 for me. That's obviously like right around the middle. I think I'm going to hedge and say give me Pitt plus the 4.5. Would not shock me if they won outright. Would not shock me if Louisville won by a touchdown. That's right where I'm at. I think this is going to be a competitive game, an ugly game. The fact that this is a nooner at, I still call it Heinz Field. I don't do this Acrisure bullshit. It's still Heinz Field to me.
Hell yeah.
Old ketchup bottle, Rick.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pitt here. Pitt plus 4.5. I think Louisville wins close.
Yeah, and Mike, what you described there earlier, though, about how all these games are, close spreads or whatever have you, 4 or 5.5. If you look at the top 25 slate generally, so not just the ACC, but the top 25 of the 16 games being played that feature top 25 teams, 13 of them have a spread of 8.5 or less. ACC, same deal. The only ones with double-digit spreads are the Virginia Tech game and the Georgia Tech game. So the Georgia Tech game counts for both the top 25 and the ACC there. So either way, going to be what should be a lot of competitive football on television this week. So shout out to my friend Parker for throwing his wedding.
Hell yeah.
Just kidding. I'll be watching it on my phone.
Damn you, Parker.
Just kidding. I'll be watching on my phone during the ceremony while you're doing the vows.
And I'm joking, of course, Parker. If you're actually listening to this, I'm very excited for your wedding.
3:30 on
I am
the
not
ACC
joking.
Network. Cal going to BC. Eagles 5.5-point favorite at home. I'll take Boston College, I guess. Cal got a bit of a wake-up call last week. Give me the Eagles.
I've already bet this. Cal plus 5.5. Just
All right.
I don't feel like obviously that was a ridiculous game Cal played last week. Like that was the worst you could possibly play. I mean, San Diego State's not very good. I don't know how that happened. That was shocking. I mean, they had 2 defensive touchdowns. Yeah, JKS was in hell against a Mountain West team. I don't know how that happened. Whatever. Yeah, give me Cal. I don't think they're that much worse than Boston College.
It is, again, it is challenging for me to pick on the road, flying across the country, a team that just got shut out 34-0 against a Mountain West team.
Yeah.
But I am. Because Cal has at least shown us on 2 separate occasions this year positive things and capability and reason to believe in them, which is why it was so jarring. But Boston College has shown me nothing other than they can put some points on the board and still allow even more than that.
All right. For this next game, let's just put like a Surgeon General's warning out there. If
I have 2 bets on this game that I cannot spoil. I cannot spoil this on this podcast because it's something it needs to be on my ACC pod, but I will tell you guys my 2 bets after we stop recording.
Listen,
I cannot spoil it because I'm recording the ACC pod right after this. I cannot spoil it, but I will tell you guys off air.
Listen, Michael, you need professional help, okay?
I think they're winners too, by the way.
Shut up. Just stop talking. San Jose State is going to Stanford. Stanford's favored in this game. That's how bad San Jose State is.
Are you guys going to have
Stanford
this
is
on the big
favored.
screen? We got Oregon, Penn State. We got Georgia, Bama on Saturday night. You guys going to have this one on the big screen? San Jose State, Stanford?
Yeah, I'm going to have to roll a TV into the wedding reception so we can watch this one.
And just going to steal the groom's phone just to watch this game.
It's like when you're in elementary school and they had like that box TV on a cart and they would wheel it into the room, to watch like safety videos for like health class or something. Don't do drugs, kids. That sort of thing.
That's exactly what we're going for at a swanky country club.
I don't pretend to know really anything about San Jose State. So sure, I'll take Stanford, I guess. I don't know. I don't plan on watching this game. But I'm sure Mike will, considering he's gonna put half a paycheck on it.
Half a paycheck. Let's be careful. Now, San Jose State is coached by one Ken Niumatalolo, so they're going to be ready to play. I don't know if we can say the same about Stanford with the Frank Wright outfit that we've seen so far. It's been not that he's like a terrible coach. It's just been hit or miss. I mean, this is very much an interim coach situation. Give me San Jose State.
Have some pride in the conference, gentlemen. I'm taking Stanford.
That's right. They've been here for so long.
Listen, if the Cardinal lose this game, I'm not sure anyone on the roster can have a scholarship next year. Just saying. I don't care who the coach is. All right. Now the important one, 7:00 on the CW. We've got Tom Brenneman on the call, boys.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited.
Hide your
see
kids.
What kind of wild shit he can say.
Yep.
Virginia Tech on the road in Raleigh. I think this opened at like 7.5. It's now up to 10.5 for the Wolfpack. Here's the deal. I am not buying this team being bought in just yet. I know that that's the messaging coming from the players. It's the messaging coming from the coaches. I hope that's the case. I think it's possible that's the case. Until I see it, I would not put my money on it. I'll take NC State to win this by more than 10.5. There is a very good chance, though, given NC State's horrific defense, that Virginia Tech is somehow in this game in the fourth quarter, maybe finds themselves with the ball with a chance to take the lead. I just don't see it happening. There's too many issues on the offensive end. The offensive line is too banged up. Kyron needs to show that he can put on a good performance against a team with a pulse. He hasn't done that. And as far as his defense is concerned, the linebacker play continues to be a mess. Questions amid in the secondary. The only thing on the defense that is remotely okay is this defensive line. So I'll take NC State here to cover at home.
Yeah. I mean, basically, to echo your point, Ricky, look, a game against Wofford can't make me unsee the second half of the Vanderbilt game and the ODU game. Like, that's just, I saw that happen, and it is going to take a lot of proving otherwise to lead me to believe that that is not something close to the standard of football that we can expect this season. And if anything near that is the product that Virginia Tech is going to lay out on the field, they're going to struggle immensely with any team against any team with a pulse. That's the fact of the matter. So I hope that they go out there and show me that there is some reason to believe that this season can be somewhat salvaged, but I ain't betting on it. And honestly, again, you could probably alt spread this one a little bit. This because, again, if Virginia Tech does go out there and lay an egg, this is going to be the end of the fading Virginia Tech money printing machine with these spreads that they have yet to cover this season. Even against Wofford, they didn't cover. Though it was sweaty.
The only thing more disconnected than the Virginia Tech offense is Andrew's Wi-Fi.
That was wild. Your video froze, and we were just like,
well, we could talk about that on a side note, but
it was totally fine.
Deal is here.
It's been fine. It's been fine the entire podcast, except for like 3.5 seconds a minute ago. I'm going with NC State also. I can't bet Virginia Tech legally, of course, in the state of Virginia.
Mike would never do that.
I would never do that. But if I could, I would bet the over 57.5. I do think Virginia Tech's going to score here. I think NC State's going to score here. And I would love to be wrong. I do think Virginia Tech's going to hang. I don't think they're going to get totally embarrassed here. If they do, I think it speaks to obviously the mindset and direction of the team, that they've been saying all the right things, but now you're playing a warm body opponent. So let's see if all of that kind of comes to pass and you're practicing what you're preaching. I mean, we know what quit looks like now, right? We saw the team quit second half against Vanderbilt. We saw the team quit against Old Dominion after that Kyron Drones fumble. The game was over in the first half. That's when the team was like, all right, that's it. We're going to lose tonight. And they just totally mailed it in. Fired your coach the next day. We know what quit looks like. So we'll see. I tend to think that this team will come out and play hard. The guys who are on the field, I think they respect Montgomery enough as a head coach. It seems like, from what they've been saying, now we'll go out, we'll see. They'll go out and play hard. I just don't trust this defense against an NC State offense that I think is really difficult to defend. And I don't trust the offense to have it all put together for 4 quarters, all buttoned up and, be a unit that can score like 4 or 5 touchdowns. But there's a path there because NC State defense is terrible. So if you can't score on this NC State defense, you're not scoring against many other opponents you're playing this year in the ACC. I think their defense is that bad. So it's going to be a very, very long rest of the season if you cannot put up points against this outfit.
Yeah, NC State might be a bottom of the upper third in the ACC, and that just goes to show how bad the ACC is this year, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this game to get you a recap. We'll see exactly how things go. Just a reminder, folks, September 30th, Virginia Tech's Board of Visitors is going to decide whether or not they want to pony up some cash. So we'll probably have an episode come out after that to not only recap to preview the Wake game, but we'll talk about the results of that meeting as well. All of our picks for the entire season on our website, HokieHangoverPod.com. Andrew's got a 1-point lead in the standings ahead of yours truly. Mike's at 19-19. Izzy at 16-21. So the pack's pretty tight still. We'll see how this week shakes out. Big shout out, Counts Family Pharmacy. Big shout out, Home Field Apparel. Thank you for continuing to support the podcast, support the project. We appreciate everyone that's listening on our audio platforms, watching on YouTube or X. Like I said, we'll be back for this recap of the Wolfpack and Virginia Tech. But until then, go Hokies.